So today we are chatting about how to build a strategic marketing plan. This is one of the toughest things to do, I think, for small business owners because likely you are experts at what you do, whether you are healthcare practitioners or creative artists or whatever you might be doing in your business. You produce amazing food products, whatever that might be. You're probably not a marketer necessarily at the front, first and foremost. So building a strategic marketing plan can be really scary, but it is really important. Whether you're B2B or B2C, it's important to have a marketing plan because marketing drives awareness and awareness drives sales. So today I'm going to kind of give you almost like a 101 on how to create your own in a really simple way. All right, really quick background on me, who I am. I'm a fractional CMO or strategic marketing advisor. I'm more of a strategic marketing advisor for small businesses. I work as a fractional CMO for mid-market organizations who don't have a marketing VP, likely need one, don't want to foot the bill for one full time. I come in as a C-suite executive and help manage the marketing team in the interim. I specifically help service-based and B2B businesses on a larger scale, but I often work also with B2C smaller organizations or SMEs, and I help them basically connect with their ideal prospects so they build and execute rapid growth and effective marketing plans. So all things marketing in a nutshell. Why do I kind of know something about anything? Just to give you a little bit of my career history, so you're not like, where did you come from? What do you know? I started my career at Fortune 500s, Fortune 1000s even. I left Queen's University, went to Nike. I moved from Nike to Unilever. I was on the marketing team at Unilever doing their foods category. I moved over to their sales side and managed the Walmart account as a shopper marketing lead. Shopper marketing is kind of this hybrid role where it was basically like a bridge between sales and marketing, and then you cater to an account. So it was a really fun role. I had a lot of head spinning going on at that time. And then I jumped ship and joined Walmart. So I headed their health and beauty category at Walmart Canada. Then I went way off the deep end from there and joined a small startup. So I joined a small production company. They specialized in branded content at the beginning of the 2011, 12, when viral marketing was all the rage. Getting on YouTube, making really amazing digital content was everything, the be all end all. So I helped to grow a startup from basically a 3-person shop to a 20-person, $3 million organization. And then from there, I had 2 children. COVID happened, and I decided that I wanted to do my own thing and sort of bridge my 2 career experiences into one as a fractional CMO. So that's my background. I want to start with one fact that I think is important that a lot of small business owners don't recognize. And it goes with the importance of marketing. So until you're operating at capacity, and that means you are producing so much product, you are filling so many orders, you have so many clients that you can no longer cater to more. It's at that point that your marketing becomes an investment. Until then, marketing is just a spend. So it's only when you're actually turning away business, you got the walking dead at your door, everyone's banging, saying, I want your product, I want your service. At that point, your marketing efforts have become a return on investment. It's really important to keep that marketing engine running until you're at that stage. And when you hit that stage, then you can be, okay, now I grow. And so then it actually turns into a new beast where now it's, okay, I need to up level. I need to get another factory. I need to produce twice as much. I need to get some employees. Now I need to market even more to generate even more demand so that I can grow to that next level of my business. So it's often at times where business owners fear marketing a little bit and think, okay, I have so many clients. I have so much work. I have so many orders coming in the door. I don't need to do marketing anymore. And at that point, you're kind of doing yourself a real disservice because it's only at that stage when your marketing efforts are becoming of real value. So it's important not to take the pedal off the metal in your marketing efforts, to keep that engine going, to keep the walking dead at your door, to keep the engine going, to keep the pipeline full so you can continue to grow as an organization. I also like to address the difference as a small business, the difference between marketing and business development, because a lot of times, especially as small organizations, you think marketing is expensive, right? Marketing's buying ads, you need a marketing budget. Big companies do marketing, they make billboards, they make TV commercials. How can I ever do marketing? I don't have money to do marketing. Marketing and business development when you're at a smaller SME level are the same, same. So it doesn't matter what you're doing and whether it's low cost or no cost. And we're going to predominantly talk about low cost, no cost marketing initiatives today and moving forward in this series. That you're taking advantage of all the marketing tools available to you. And often those end up being business development initiatives too. So they're kind of one and the same. So you can think about marketing and business development as a united front. And it's a matter of figuring out which tools you need to connect with your target based on where they are. And it's really important to make sure you're doing the right things and not all the things. Because when you think about all the things you can do from a business development and a marketing perspective, it feels really overwhelming, right? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I be here? Should I be on this channel? Should I be on that channel? And how do you know? How do you know? So we're going to talk about that. And what initiatives do you partake in? What ones do you spend your time? And most importantly, which ones do you ever invest any money in? Because you want to make sure those are really the right ones before you foot the bill for anything. And you want to make sure you're doing the right things, not all the things. As I kind of alluded to already, communication plans drive awareness. Why do we need awareness? Awareness is essential so that your ideal target, your ideal customer can be aware of the value and the service you're offering them so that they, in turn from a lead to a prospect or a customer or a sale. So communication plans drive awareness and awareness leads to sales, which is why marketing is really important. How do you build a marketing plan? I'm going to take you through a few steps that you can even do today, tomorrow, this afternoon to start putting together a marketing plan for yourself for the next month, 2 months. I think it's really important to think about your marketing initiatives as a little bit trial and error, right? So you want to make sure, and we'll talk about this in more detail, but you want to make sure anything you choose to do is thoughtful. It has a theory behind it or a logic behind it of why you're initiating in this tactic or spending time and energy doing this initiative. And you want to monitor it. You want to actually look and see if it's proving to give you results. Often we end up throwing things like mud against the wall to see what sticks, right? I'm going to throw it. And half the time you're still throwing and you're not realizing the mud is like dripping down the wall and is completely useless. So it's really important that anything you do, you actually set yourself up with some kind of metric to be like, is this a success? If I come back to this 2 weeks later or a month later, after I'm spinning my wheels doing this, when am I going to say, okay, this maybe wasn't right, or something about this is wrong, I'm going to tweak it to make it more effective. So you want to make sure you're kind of taking a bit of a scientific lens to any of the marketing initiative you're doing. You're actually monitoring it, assessing it, deciding if it worked or not. So first thing we're going to do is think about your target. We're not going to get into detail today about defining your primary target, but the most important thing in marketing is 2 things. One, your target, so who you're going after, who's your ideal customer, and knowing them in a great amount of detail. And second, your positioning. And your positioning is about the value that you offer that target, how you make that target's life better and different with the work you do or the product you're providing them. Okay, so those are 2 things. We're going to get into that in part 2 because it's a bit more elaborate. If you have your target in mind, you know they're a 50-year-old dude and they like fishing. You know they're a 30 to 45-year-old mom. Keep that person in mind when you're brainstorming these initiatives. And I basically want you to write a list, stream of consciousness, all the things you can think about and how you can connect with that person. And we're not going to do this right now. I'll give you these slides so you can take time on your own to do it. But I want you to just brain dump as many ways you can think of to connect with that person. And it may be like picking up the phone, like thinking about all the 30-year-old moms you know and talking to them on the phone. Like that could be a marketing initiative, right? That is a business development strategy. So something as simple as basic as that. Putting sandwich boards out in front of your store. That is a very simple thing to do, right? Getting a sign and putting it on your lawn. Go for the big guns, go for the little guns. Think about all the things that you can do to connect with that person. And here's a list, right? So here's some free marketing ideas and go. So again, I'll give you these, but this is just like me brain dumping ideas. This is an example of what yours will look like, whether you scribble it down or type it in. We've got everything from a business signature that's informative and effective. It gives your number, it gives what you do, it gives your name. It's amazing how many people don't have a signature on their emails, right? Simple things like that. I have here you talking to people, going to any kind of networking event, going to a coffee shop, having a cocktail party, e-marketing, social media, testimonials, signage. Anyways, the laundry list is long. And again, this isn't everything. These are all the things you can think of to connect with your specific target. Think about what your target does, where they live, what they do in their day, what are the best ways to connect with them. Then you're going to take this list. I like to use stickies. I use a platform called Miro. There are lots of online whiteboard programs out there. Google has one as well. Electronic stickies are helpful because you can take all of these different ideas and make them their own little sticky. Or you can do it for fun with Post-it notes around your room if you want to, or you can just write them down as well. But what I want you to do next is make a grid. So now we're going to prioritize that list, because when you look at that list, it's like, holy crap, that's a lot of stuff for me to have to do. How do I know what's more important? So a nice way to define what's best to do first and what's best to do last is to put them in some kind of organized, prioritized way. I like to go with high impact, low impact, easy, difficult, right? The top right quadrant is high impact, easy. Those are the things you do first. It could make a big impact, and it's pretty damn easy to give yourself a better signature, right, on your emails. Maybe it's opening an Instagram account and putting up a post. That's pretty easy to do. So we can call that, maybe not terribly high impact, but it's pretty easy. So we can call it low impact, let's say. Maybe you want to do a radio commercial, right? That would be a pretty high impact, difficult thing to do because there's a lot of work involved in it. There's some cost involved, but it could have a really high impact because you could reach a lot of people. And maybe in the case of your target and your business, a radio spot is a really valuable investment, right? So that's a difficult, high impact initiative. So you're going to put them in all of these little quadrants. When you're actually going about making yourself a 1 to 2 month tactical plan of, okay, how am I going to go about getting all this stuff done? You start with your high impact easies, give yourself a little timeline, say, okay, I'm going to try to get through these in the next week. I'm going to try to get through these in the next month. By the end of June, I really want to have done 2 of these difficult tasks, right? So you kind of break them down into manageable chunks of execution. And it also gives you a chance to figure out who you might need to solicit to get help actually executing these. Because in some cases, you can DIY it to a certain degree, but at some point you might want to hire a professional to do some of this work.
Alyssa, there is a question.
Yeah.
I'm just going to read it out here. So is difficult also expensive / costly?
That's a great question. So I like to put expensive things in the difficult category too, because drumming up funds can be difficult too. And you can change this axis as well. So if you'd rather have it call it expensive to free, that's great. This is yours to play with. I like to put the difficult low impact things are the things that I want to put on the back burner, right? So it's something that maybe could be super effective. Like maybe it's like a party, right? You want to throw a PR party or something, let's say. Not necessarily a launch, because a launch initiative is usually pretty important, but let's say it's a 50th anniversary party or something for your business, or 10-year anniversary, right? It's probably difficult. It could be costly. It may not have low impact, but it's a fun thing to do and good morale for your employees, whatever it might be. So from a marketing perspective, that would be difficult, low impact, right? Does that help? Yeah. So I put expensive things in the difficult category. Okay. So then if we want to break it down even further, so now we're going to take our initial actions. So let's say it's, I'm going to, here we've got, one of the things I really love is a friends and family PR pack. So especially if you're launching a business or you're launching a new product or you're trying to drive awareness for a certain campaign or something you want to drive sales on, you have a promotion, whatever that might be. A friends and family PR pack is really nice to make. You make a bunch of creative, you send it to your friends and family, you say, hey guys, can you post this on your Instagram? Can you post this on your social media? Pop this on LinkedIn for me. Can you send this email to your friends? Whatever it might be, you use your people and you ask some favors and you give them some details. So that's one initiative, let's say. It's important to know if this actually works, right? So how do you know if an initiative that you spent your time and energy on actually works? And it's really simple. It doesn't mean, doing something complicated. It doesn't mean tracking a lot. It doesn't mean spending a lot of time doing. It's just giving yourself a specific metric, like just a goal. Like I would love for, if I can get 2 new sales as a result of this PR pack I'm sending out. If my cousins and my mom drum up two new business prospects for me, great. Then you give yourself that objective. And at that point, you can say, did it work? Did it not? Right? So it gives you an ability to actually see if something worked or not. Next, It's also really valuable if you're spending your time and energy making these little marketing plans. They don't have to be complicated. Again, I want you to have like 5 things you're doing for the next month. Maybe it's 10 for the next quarter. This is sort of the cycle in which you go about measuring and assessing the work that you're doing. Because really, like, why spend energy and time doing anything if it's not doing anything? The number of times I've connected with clients who have said, I've asked them specifically, they wreck themselves making reels, they hate doing posts, Instagram wrecks them. I've literally asked them, how many clients do you get out of your Instagram activity? Most of the time they say none. Oh, I don't know. The majority of my business come from referrals or the, mailers I put out. Okay, great. So, but you're spending 10% of your time doing mailers and 50% of your time slamming your head against the wall making a reel on Instagram. That doesn't make any sense. And they'd be like, no, you're right. That makes no sense. So it's really important to actually somewhat logically assess if what you're doing is driving business. So you do that by defining a bit of a KPI. So what's my key performance indicator that I'm defining as a goal? Execute, measure, and learn. Any questions?
Is
I don't
there
see-
some
no.
kind of checklist? I know you're going through a number of slides. It could be in the form of a list. It could be in the form of a concept map or a mind map.
Yeah, in terms of how to come up with your creative marketing ideas.
And just kind of make sure everything is we're keeping in mind.
I can give you a few examples. So for example, let's say you are, and it depends on the initiative. So your ability to measure that creative effort or that marketing initiative totally depends on what your creative tactic is or your execution is. For example, let's say you have an email list. You have a number of people signed up for your newsletter. You're doing an e-marketing campaign where you want to sell a new product, right? And so you're promoting that new product or service through, let's say, a 5 email campaign. If you're doing that, you would want to set yourself out a goal. You can say, if you're a service provider, you can say, I want to, through this email campaign, I want to book 2 discovery calls. I'd love for there to be enough call to action with all the emails to my 400-person mailing list that I get 2 discovery calls out of it, right? And maybe you know that your discovery calls have a 50% sales return, right? You're most likely to 50% of the time you turn that discovery call into a client. And it depends on you personally, right? So you have to kind of understand your ability to sell and how many people you might need to do a discovery call with to make it worthwhile. Then you say, okay, great. So I want 2 discovery calls out of this initiative. And that's your KPI. And then you define, okay, did I get that? Why didn't I? Why did I? Yeah. So sorry, Ron, do you even want to dig deeper on that? Because I'm happy to give more.
Well, okay. I guess one other question that kind of popped up, it's like, okay, you're putting out these various marketing messages to, different channels, whatever. Is there some kind of ratio that one can look at and say, okay, this one seems to be working, this one not so much? And of course, you look at the results and you see, okay, you use the term discovery calls. And then, of course, once you have somebody on the line, it's the idea to identify their need and assess maybe some approaches that I might have in my quiver, and then hopefully make a sale. I guess a sale is an interesting term for a service business, but yes, technically it is a sale. It's in other words, I'm convincing somebody to choose me to provide a service for them to meet their needs.
And you're getting into the sales at that stage. So then it's your ability as a salesperson to convert. But the main goal of the marketing initiative would have been to get as many leads on the phone with you so that you can make that effort to sell.
Okay, but again, coming back to the idea of a ratio.
Yep.
So in other words, if I put out 20 messages or 200 messages, what's a reasonable good return? What percentage? Do you have an idea of that?
So that is an interesting question because it totally depends on your business and your product offering. The more you do it though, the more you'll get a sense of your audience and how responsive they are. And the more you have an ability to see whether your messaging landed or not, right? So I don't even know if there is a set number out there that exists. For example, like if you consider a general Google ad, if you get a 2% click through, that's good. Right? So there's generic standards amongst things like that. I think for e-marketing specifically, it's a little trickier because it totally depends on your audience and how responsive and engaged they are, right? So if you're, let's say, an influencer, you have a bunch of followers, they eat you up, they love you, they follow you on social, and you've got them signing up for a newsletter where you pump out more stuff to them, they're eating out of your hands, right? You know they're an active audience and engaged. If you have a mailing list of people who maybe signed up because you had a 50% coupon a while back, and that's why they signed up, but they're still on your mailing list, and then you write them about something else, they might not be that engaged. So you have to kind of think a little bit about the tactic itself and the audience. If you're writing, let's say, about a new service offering to a bunch of your old clients, right? Warm leads, people who love you, know you, and you're saying, hey guys, guess what? I'm now offering this. You could probably guess how many people might write you back or might click through to learn more. But kind of depends on knowing your audience, knowing your target, knowing your initiative. I'm sorry that's not like a firm answer, but I hope that helps to give a little bit of clarity around how to think about it. That's why it's really important as a small business owner to really be aware of what's working, what's not, because that's why I stress it, because I think a lot of people do initiatives, but don't actually look to see how well it worked. And so because we're flying blind, right? Like if you were at Nike, you'd have a big ass agency doing all kinds of research for you and pulling in data. But as small business owners, we don't. So all we have is either insights that other businesses like yours are doing. And that's why making friends with the competition is really valuable. It truly is. So talking to other business owners, what have they found works? What did they find success in? People who operate in the same space as you or a similar space. Sharing learnings like that is so huge. And then using your own learnings. Exactly. Being really aware, being very observant, being somewhat scientific in how you're looking at success, right?
There's one other thing that occurs to me with messages or newsletters or whatever. Quality of copy is very important. Is there going to be anything in this series on writing copy?
Not too much on actual writing copy, but I can send you guys as a takeaway what I have. I have a worksheet or a template of my recommendations of how to structure a post or any marketing. And I also have some insight on your audience too. So there's different types of readers and how they digest content. And there's 4 different types of readers, we'll call them. And we kind of all bucket, stereotypically follow into these 4 types. And you want to make sure that you're kind of accounting for in your content and layout to grab the attention of all those 4 types of audience members. But you're totally right. Content is really important. I would say overarchingly though, as a recommendation, less is always more. People are, and I joke about this coming from, mass marketing, Fortune 500 days. People are intrinsically lazy and stupid when they digest content. Sounds terrible. They could be the smartest person in the world, but they are lazy and stupid when they are digesting content that they don't have time to really register properly. So less is always more. Knowing, to your point exactly, Ron, knowing your target to a T will make sure that you're saying those messages that solve their problems and offer them the solutions they're looking for. And then making sure you have a really clear, really crystal clear understanding of how you serve them and the value you offer them. And so those 2 kind of operate like a lock and key, where you know them and you're saying the right things that they hear you, and you don't have to say much to make a connection. So less is more, because people are lazy, they don't have time. You want to get their attention, you want to get that message out there, you want to make that connection so they remember you or they take action. That's great. And it is amazing how I take the kind of for dummies perspective though. Like it is amazing how clear you must be and how simplistic you must be in what you offer, because people whether they're distracted or they don't have time or the energy, whatever it might be. Even if they read through it, sometimes if it's convoluted, no one's going to bother to piece that together. So it needs to be really, really succinct and really clear and really direct.
That sounds like scaffolding. You give them the simple stuff and then you add more detail. And I'm going to stop here because
no, it's good. And it should be, no, you're right. And the point of marketing too is to give them the scaffolding so they want to connect more, right? They want to enter the store. So they want to call you. So they want to learn more, right? You're giving them a tease to get them through the funnel to the next step. And that's all marketing is about. It's not dumping your whole laundry list. It's not showing all the cards. It's not blah at them. You're giving them little teasers that they're going to connect with. They're going to smell in the air and recognize and want. And then it brings them in. And that's the whole point of any marketing initiative. Okay, so in summary, when building a plan, And again, keeping this plan simple, I can't enforce that enough. Give yourself a month time, give yourself 3 or 4 initiatives, and then do them and see how they go. The worst part is people feeling overwhelmed, like they have to do everything, and they do everything poorly or partially, and it doesn't serve them well. So first, recognize the value of marketing, and when it shows real value. So remember that it's important to keep that wheel going, to keep the machine running, to get those leads always coming in the door. Whether it's small things, big things, keep the wheel going. Next is you're building a plan. So you're going to brainstorm, you're going to prioritize all those brainstorm brilliance, and then you're going to put them into action by giving yourself a little action plan, a little to-do list, a key performance metric to decide whether it's worth your time or not. And then you circle back and decide whether you're going to do it again or do something different later. And then thirdly, marketing plans, as we already started to dig into, are only as strong as your messaging. They're only as strong as how well you know your ideal prospect and how well you position your offer, your service, or your product. So as we get into this, and we'll keep going with questions and conversation too, but just as a reminder, this kind of leads us into session number 2. Great, you have a plan, but successful marketing tactics are built on a strong brand foundation. So it's important to have a crystallized target and a crystallized positioning to ensure that all your marketing efforts actually drive an ROI so that your ideal target hears it, they see it, they understand it, and they move forward. Click through, buy it, walk in the door. So that's what we're kind of going to talk about on the 18th. And then this is me too. So we'll keep talking, obviously. But I love to connect with people on LinkedIn. So if anyone wants to find me, I'll put my LinkedIn access in the chat.
So we did have a question, Alyssa, that came up earlier. So are there any specific programs you use for metrics analysis and comparisons across the platforms used?
So Google Analytics is great. If you're doing any kind of initiatives where you're driving traffic back to a Shopify website or sign up for our newsletter type of situation, then Google Analytics is very important. Your dashboard is pretty simple to understand for the most part. It's important to get signed up for Google Analytics on your website. Talk to your web developer. I could not tell you the back end of actually setting it up. Apologies. But it is important to connect with your web developer and make sure Google Analytics is connected to your website. Then you can just go on and observe it. Some websites also give you analytics as well. If you're on a WordPress site, let's say, you could probably go in and assess analytics a bit too. Certainly on a Shopify or any kind of shoppable site, you for sure can. And then in terms of other platforms, can you give me some specifics?
Hi, my name is Vanessa here. I was the one who asked the question. I was actually just wondering about taking all of those different sites and a way to kind of put them all together and then compare and contrast. Do you use a program for that, or do you separate it all?
Yeah, the tech struggle. Yeah, for sure. I hear you with that. Usually the 2 ones that are most valuable to combine, I would say, is e-marketing and Google Analytics. Because if you're doing mass e-marketing campaigns, then it's nice to be able to connect the 2. I think Squarespace offers e-marketing now outside of it. I think some web platforms allow you to do email marketing outside of it and generate a list. So any platform like that would be probably best to utilize if you're looking for a new one. Otherwise, it's a matter of assessing them separately or getting click through from your e-marketing platform and then observing how many traffic went to your website as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
There's tech is not, it's not always our friends. I'm sorry to say, it's sad. And then social media is the obvious. Instagram is pretty annoying in that you always have to either do a link directly on a story or a link in bio situation. Obviously, Linktree is great. It allows you to put multiple links if you have a few things going on. But you would be able to track via Google Analytics how many people came from social media too.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And it depends on your business. If you're more service-based and you have a high ticket offer, let's say, it's just a matter of asking your clients like, hey, where'd you find out about me? Or if you get an info call or a discovery call or someone calling you up, just say, hey, how'd you find out about me? If it's more of a B2C situation where you're selling a lot of products, yeah, it would be a matter of going into your platforms on a monthly basis to see just what's kind of tracking well and what's not.
Alyssa, I have a question for you. How do you know when to outsource marketing and when to kind of DIY your marketing, and then you get to the point where you need to outsource?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I find that a lot of times business owners, and we're going to cover it in these sessions, so hopefully you feel comfortable. But I think a lot of times businesses struggle with their core messaging. And to Ron's point, it's what you say and the tactics that matter the most. So as a business owner, it's really important that you have a really good understanding of your core messaging and your value and your positioning. And I call that your sort of brand foundations, or the foundations of your business.
Can you repeat
Once
those
you
points
know,
again? Core messaging and
I would say, so having a good understanding of your target, a good understanding of your positioning, and those two combined kind of make a good understanding of what your core messaging would be. Because if you don't have that under real control, a lot of businesses go then to creative support, be that someone who's the social media person helping them, or maybe a web developer building their website. And that person can execute, but they don't know your business intrinsically. They don't know the heart of your messaging. They don't know the heart of the value you're really offering your client. So it's really important to have a good understanding of that and a solid foundation before you outsource it all, because then a lot of times those initiatives may fall short. And I recommend anything that wrecks you, that wastes a lot of your time, let's say like 50% of your time, start to outsource. And if you know it's driving business, right? So if it ends up being those maybe a difficult but high impact initiative, is worth outsourcing. If it's a difficult, low impact initiative, maybe not worth spending money on, right? So if you know a lot of your clients are coming from social media, or you're getting a lot of sales from social media and you're spending a lot of time working on it, then maybe it's time to outsource, right? But if you aren't getting a lot of traction on social media, most of your clients don't come from there, don't waste money doing that.
okay to jump in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a term out there, providing an irresistible offer. And so it'll depend on the business, of course. So and you have to know your client, but an irresistible offer is something like, that has my attention. I want to check that out. Maybe there's something there for me. And everybody's looking for what's in it for me as a client, and understandably. So can you speak to that question at all?
Yeah, I think an irresistible offer is important. It depends if you are, again, more product-based or more service-based. I think the importance of service-based is to build trust and prove yourself to be an expert. So I think in a lot of cases, if you're service-based, it goes to just showcasing your skills, right? Whether it's in a testimonial or a video. For example, if you're a health and beauty professional, right? Showing your work, showing the experience, bringing that to life would be considered an irresistible offer, right? It's an experience that you're now showcasing in some way that make people think, oh, I want that. In terms of a product, you could go in the direction of an irresistible offer being like the best deal, or but I think it's a matter of just making yourself appear different and better. And it doesn't mean that you're different and better completely from whatever else is out there, but you're just in some way uniquely different and better. And I think that, in my mind, is what I would consider an irresistible offer. And I think it is really important as business owners to define what makes you different and better, truly, in the marketplace. And when you think about, we'll talk about this next session in positioning as well, but I encourage business owners to think about the competition as being very broad. So when I think about if I work with a therapist, let's say, I have a number of therapist clients that I work with, I make them think about anyone who their potential client could go to instead of them. And that includes their best friend on a coffee date. That includes the rabbi, right? Or their priest or their minister. So I'm just not talking about another therapist down the street. I'm talking about all the individuals or all the experiences that they can consider instead of coughing up $250 to talk to that person for an hour. So I encourage you to do that too when you think about what makes you different and better.
I think someone else was trying to say something.
Yes,
yeah, go for it, Rebecca.
Yeah, I hand make organic body care using organic and fair trade ingredients and Canadian whenever possible. So I started it up in 2007, took took kind of a hiatus from it for a little while. I did it for about 8 years. And now I'm starting it up again with some of the products that were the most popular. So that's what I'm doing. And right now I'm working on I'm also a graphic designer, photo retoucher, and logo designer. So I've created my own brand, and now I'm working on packaging. So the next step is to get it on Instagram, get it on social media platforms. So that's where I'm at.
Yep.
And that's why I'm taking these courses.
Yeah, good. I think that's great. I mean, you already have a sense of, branding from an aesthetic perspective, which is fantastic. And I think making sure that you're really specific in what value your products bring in your packaging and in the work that you're doing right now will be really important. So what makes you different, better, without overloading it? Because obviously a package is such a specific space. You're very limited to what you can say on it.
Yeah.
So being really thoughtful about what you think your target would really gravitate towards and really appreciate and recognize as different and better about what you have to offer in your product.
Yeah.
Social media is a good spot to start selling. I think also there's a lot of value when it comes to B2C product-based businesses to find partnerships with other businesses. So going out there, connecting with other shops. Obviously, you're probably looking into boutiques maybe, or other businesses, small businesses where you can sell your product. Another thing for Instagram to help garner new followers is to find relationships with other complementary products where you can do shared takeovers or mutually speak about each other's products. So finding what I call like biz buddies to help promote your product and vice versa is a great way to do a little bit of business development too.
Yeah. I used to do a lot of farmers markets and craft shows.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time I started it, people weren't as aware of the benefits of the products and the value of them. So, I'm finding people are a lot more educated at this point. So that really helps, because that was tough. That was a really tough thing to work through, was educating the customer. So that's really great. I like that about business buddies.
And if everyone wants to pop in the chat too, if that's even, that would be great. That would help me tailor things as well a little bit more moving forward. It's nice to know what everyone does, because I can give examples that are more relevant and be a little less, up here and get a little more granular.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really great. I don't mind that. If you guys want to pop in the chat, and actually, if you don't mind taking, note of everyone, that's great.
Yeah, feel free to put your social media handles in the chat. So if you'd like to connect with each other, you can do that. I know Glenn has a question, so I just want to get to Glenn's question next. If you want to unmute yourself there.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
First thing I'd like to do is kind of explain what it is that I do. So my wife and I have a company that provides a professional designated driving service, and it's called Roadrunners. And we had decided when we started this that we would cater to the market of Clarington. My background is that I was involved in the DD industry since 2006. My wife and I managed Keys to Us, if anybody's heard that company before, for a good 8 years. We had 130 drivers and a dispatch office of 5 people, and very, very busy 2-hour wait times on Fridays and Saturday nights. That was the peak of, I want to say, the industry in 2015. I had to laugh when Alyssa mentioned, people's attention spans and how you need to keep things very simple. When we're dealing with people who are intoxicated, trying to get the message across to them about what we do, it takes a while for that to sink in.
Yeah.
So a couple of challenges that we have in this industry is, obviously one is awareness. 2 is the simplicity of what it is that we offer. But really one of the biggest challenges we have is changing people's perception of, what people think of you when you're calling for a professional DD service to come and get you. People often get embarrassed by they think like, I shouldn't have to do this. I should be able to get home, on my own. And the ironic thing about the number of people that we drive is that 98% of them that we drive are very, I want to say, coherent. They're not super intoxicated like most people think. It's just responsible people making responsible choices to get home safely and legally. People don't realize how easy it is to be charged with impaired driving or to fall into the warn level and have their license suspended for 3 days even. And now that affects your insurance when that happens. A few years ago, that didn't happen when you got a warrant. But now the insurance companies end up getting, they pick up on it when you get charged or get a suspension, a temporary suspension.
Mhm.
So what I've done in the past marketing wise, when we started the business, I literally stood out front of the bars and asked people when they were coming or going if they'd ever heard of our company. And then it gave me the opportunity to explain to them one-on-one, what we do. And that worked great to develop a base clientele. And then we sort of tried to partner with the bars by, getting them to post up signs. And sadly, the bars don't seem to be as willing to partner with these services as we had hoped or would like. And again, I think it comes down to their mindset. If we post signs or hand out cards, then people are going to stop drinking because they're worried about their license. And in actual fact, it's probably the other way around. If they knew that the service existed, they might actually have that additional drink and make a plan to get home safely and relax, knowing that they've got something in place and enjoy themselves instead of worrying about, geez, am I going to be okay if I have that one more drink or two more drinks? So part of the challenge we have is, how do we really create enough awareness on a mass scale somewhat, whether it's social media,
Yeah.
a landing page, I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah, I think you do have a bit more of a mass awareness challenge in that regard, because one would be to get, so two things to tackle. One is understanding who your primary target is, who is most likely to consider this service. Figure out who that person is, whether it's male, whether it's female, whether it's within a certain age group, and then connect with them in their daily life when they're sober, I would say. So they're aware of you and they recognize the service and think, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I remember that, right? So getting in their face a lot, so you become something regular that they know of. In the same way I know to call an Uber, I know to order DoorDash or whatever. So it is a bit of mass marketing, I would say, mass awareness. And any way you can make them accessible too. I mean, I don't want to say make an app, but I would say make an app potentially.
No, an app is definitely something that I wanted to do. But yes, we actually, we have all their cell phone numbers. Whoever has used our service, we log that. We record every trip.
Yeah, huge.
So
That's great. That's a great resource.
So we do have, yeah, we do have a database, if you want to call it that. It's not necessarily 100% complete, but I'd say it's probably a good 60%, at least. The information is 60% accurate. So one of the things I was thinking of is developing an app and then sending out, a text message to them all to let them know that we have an app. And, if they're interested, that they could, give them an offer, I guess, give them, I don't know, 50% off a ride if they sign up for our app, off your first ride,
Yeah,
and then the
great.
app gives us the opportunity to be able to send out text messages and potentially create instantaneous business on nights where things may, like, what's going on? This is supposed to be Thursday. Why aren't the phones ringing, right?
Mhm.
So maybe send out a blast with a happy hour offer, place a call for a safe ride home between the hours of 5 and 9 tonight and save, $5 off your trip, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think this brainstorming exercise could be really helpful for you, because then you can put all those ideas down and then kind of
Yeah.
prioritize them on what you think would be the most you could access right now and do. and then ones you might want to table. So I encourage you to do this exercise. I think it'll be really helpful.
Well,
Thanks,
we are
Anne.
coming to the end. I know we're 5 minutes over, so lots of great questions, lots of conversation, which is really awesome. And hopefully we can continue to get to know each other's businesses and learn more from each other throughout the series. So just a reminder, the next one is in May, and I will pop in the link again if you haven't signed up already, and I'll also send it out with the recording and resources that Alyssa is going to send over. So thank
Uh,
you so much, Alyssa.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, everyone. Sorry, Ron.